Welcome to the Double Dribble Podcast with Dubin and Dakil. That's Jared Dubin, author of Last Night in Basketball. Make sure you subscribe to his amazing newsletter. Make sure you're following along with all of that. He is a killer in that sense. He finds all the small things you might have missed in the games. He's going to make you smarter, and he's going to make you smarter for listening to this podcast. He's also the father of one of my favorite dogs, Bodie. So make sure you're checking him out. I'm Mo Dakil, former video coordinator with the Clippers-Spurs Team Australia. I do videos on Offside. Make sure you're following along there. The app should be open to everybody if it's not by now. The offside.gg if you want to find out more about it. And I'm a contributor on NBA TV, so make sure you're checking out all that fun stuff there. I will be on NBA TV all weekend, so you'll get a lot of me if you want to partake in that stuff. Jared kind of got a lot to talk about. We're going to be East focused today, and we're going to be locked in on that stuff. But you know what? That was rude of me, Jared. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. It's like you said, it got a lot of stuff to talk about today. Mostly about the Eastern Conference, and we got some news that broke shortly before we came on the podcast, which thankfully shortly before we came on the podcast as opposed to shortly after we finished recording the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, we were going to originally record earlier in the morning, and then that kind of changed a little bit. The news we are talking about, James Harden basically broke the tip of his thumb. Reported by Shams Charania, the right thumb. Now, remember, he's left-handed, folks, so not his shooting hand. This happened in their big win over the Knicks yesterday, which we will talk about shortly in that sense. He's going to go under further evaluation and treatment. He is questionable for the Knicks, for the Cavs next game. Is that tonight? Sorry, I should have looked that up ahead of time. Yes, against Milwaukee tonight. He is questionable for that. I saw Jeff's thoughts from In Street Clothes, which, by the way, folks, if you want to kind of like an understanding of injuries and things like that, he's your go-to person. In Street Clothes on X, he put out James Harden injury news. The thumb is made up of two phalanges. I don't know if I'm pronouncing any of this correctly, so nobody hold this against me. There's a reason why I didn't go to med school, and that was the only reason, was I can't read. Harden's break involves the distal phalanx, the tip of the thumb, and is not displaced. That is the best case scenario for a quick return. Players who suffer this injury and avoid surgery miss an average of 6.5 games, roughly 17 days, according to this post. Jared, like, the big thing about trading for Harden was his availability. And now we got a tip of a broken thumb.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't sound like it's the biggest deal in the world if you look at the Jeff Stotts post. But, yeah, I mean, like you said, the big thing was Harden's availability compared with Darius Garland's availability. Garland misses time all the time, and Harden mostly plays in every single game. And now you're going to have possibly 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks without Harden on the court. They've looked fantastic with him on the court, and we'll, again, talk about that Cavs-Knicks game from last night, but it's a blow, but hopefully not too big of one.
If he misses, though, I'll say this: if he misses 6 to 7 games, that could actually be a pretty big blow for them. We should actually look up what their schedule is for the next 6 or 7 games, and see.
I'll look it up while you keep talking.
But, like, that's a big blow because they're in a battle from the standings right there. They're with their win against the Knicks, they're tied for third. Now, the Knicks have the tiebreaker 2-1 in the series lead, so the Knicks are third. But, like, they're trying to kind of get that third seed a little bit. I think that would be pretty interesting for them. I think that's kind of the deal where they're at, and they've been on a nice run. Upward trajectory, been looking like the Cavs I think we've expected. Even before the trade, they were playing much better basketball. But now with the trade and with Harden, you're seeing a lot more kind of lift up with them. I think that's kind of the thing that's a bit bumming about that. They come off a big win yesterday. And then you go like, damn, man, all right, this is weird.
Yeah, schedule the next couple weeks. They're starting a 3-game road trip with this game tonight in Milwaukee. Then they're at Detroit, at Brooklyn, home for Detroit, Boston, and Philly, and then at Orlando. That's the next 2 weeks for them.
That's pretty tough. Detroit twice, Boston, Philly, Orlando. Like that's going to be a little bit challenging for them, I think, maybe to try to hold up. They're pretty solid in the 4 seed. I don't see Toronto kind of catching them. They're 2 losses up on Toronto in the loss column, but Toronto's
But
Toronto.
I think they're tied with the Knicks after last night. But the Knicks,
Yeah, they are tied with the Knicks at the in 3-4. What I meant is they're kind of locked in, kind of in that top, like a little bit space between them and 5. But yeah, you don't want to kind of put yourself in a position though where you're like, oh crap, we're really in trouble now with this injury. And then we'll see lingering effects with that stuff. Doesn't sound like you'll have a lot, but I mean, man, if you have to miss like 2 weeks of play, bit of a big deal there with it. And it sucks again because they looked good yesterday against the Knicks. They kicked the Knicks' ass yesterday.
Yeah, particularly I thought in the first half offensively and the second half defensively. First half they were just getting by the Knicks first line of defense every single time, and then toying with the weak side defenders too. Harden and Mitchell were getting basically anywhere they wanted to go, and then all the shooters were winding up open on the weak side, particularly in the corner. And then in the second half, the Knicks shot like 20-something% from the field for the entire half, and the Cavs were kind of all over them. And a lot of the Knicks' offense in the second half was just Brunson dribbling around trying to find some sort of opening because nothing else was springing open for them.
Yeah, it was kind of like the perfect description of how that game went. It was a tale of 2 halves in the sense of offense in one half and defense in the other half, all on the Cavs side, and they were just pretty dominant in the way they looked. And it's one of those things where it was kind of a statement game for them. Mm-hmm. You know, the Knicks had beaten them twice already, and we've seen the situation where we know the history with the playoff series a few years ago. There was some little bit of juice between Jared Allen and Mitchell Robinson as well. Mm-hmm. I thought like a little bit more of like Allen was trying to go at him a little bit more with that a little level of physicality. I think that was kind of missing a few years ago. I think it was kind of fun to watch that with that
they
going.
Also had, when the Mitchell Robinson lineups were on the court, they were going small with Jalen Tyson and Dean Wade as the front court, and they survived that and didn't give up a ton of offensive rebounds, which is usually how you get killed against the Mitchell Robinson lineups. And Robinson did have 8 offensive rebounds for the game, but it didn't seem like that they were hurting the Cavs too much because usually when he gets those offensive rebounds, the Knicks will wind up kicking out for threes, and they didn't get that in that game because they only went 10 for 37 from 3.
Yeah, and I think that was the other thing. I for me, from the Knicks' perspective, this was a really bad game. Yeah. They looked disheveled. Like their defense is their defense. We know it's, listen, when you're going to play Cat and Brunson together, you know that everybody else has to up their defensive level another notch. Alvarado.
They did not.
They did not, and that was the problem, right? And
they were terrible. The other guys were terrible defensively.
It was a weird sort of thing of like they kind of went through the motions type of game, and then once the shots weren't falling, it was like we're not going to try to make up for it on the other end. And I think that's kind of been a little bit of the unevenness of the Knicks season, right? Like it's ebbed and flowed. It's been good, it's been bad, it's been good, and it's in that sense. And I don't know if they've really kind of figured out how to kind of stabilize themselves in those instances. And I think, it's worrisome when like your offense isn't going that you can't come up with stops. And I don't know. We're going to talk about it, but this is the team most people were expecting to go to the finals. And it's been like, there's just a level of like, And
it's just been inconsistent. Like they had a couple weeks where they were playing really good. They had the best defense in the league for a couple weeks, and right before that, their defense was horrendous for a month.
Right.
Like they just haven't been able to consistently do the things that you want to see from them on a night-to-night basis.
And it's confused. Like it's just frustrating. You'll love this. I kind of have said on another podcast very recently. I kind of wonder if they look back a little bit and go like, maybe we shouldn't have fired Tibbs. Our offense looked a little bit better. Didn't maximize everybody, but we were getting maximum Cat. Our defense was all right, not great, but like, I wonder if there's a little bit hindsight's 2020. And again, being unfair in this thought, but I wonder if there's some of that with what you see going on with the Knicks right now.
I think personality-wise, it might have just run its course. There were a couple guys I think that were just kind of done with playing for Tibbs.
Yeah, but those guys who were done playing for Tibbs haven't done anything. Are they done with Mike Brown? Like, is that is that really the? Okay, now I'm just taking us into a weird place.
Yeah, if anyone has seemed done with Mike Brown at certain points in the season, it's been Towns, but he's been better lately.
Yeah, he's actually like looked good offensive. Like it's almost like he's kind of figured out.
Although he can't take 5 shots in a game.
Well, that's the problem with that's the problem with their offense, right? Like it's in the way Tibbs maximized Cat and basically alienated the other guys, which was the problem. It's now like trying to maximize the other guys and almost kind of in a weird way alienating or minimizing Cat. And I shouldn't say alienating, but minimizing him. And they can't find the right mix of that stuff. And that's both coaches finding the right proper mixture to make it so the offense is really utilizing everybody. Yeah. And I think that's one of those things the Knicks, like, we're too deep in the season for this to be a problem.
I think it's hard to maximize all of the guys at once when there are at least 4 guys who feel like they should be getting like 15 shots a game.
Yeah, I don't think you can maximize all the guys at once. There's just no way to, right? It does come down to the one ball thing, but there's ways to make, and there's moments where it's like you can prioritize certain guys, right? Like that was the problem with the Tibbs offense, right? It was all Brunson and Cat, and then everybody else kind of just, you got what was left over. And now it's like trying to make sure everybody gets the slice of the pie and things like that. But like, you know, if it's a pizza pie, like Brunson should get 3 slices. I'm not going to tell you how many slices are in the pizza pie. It's ginormous, and I'm going to mess up the math. You know, Cat should get 2, right? Like, you know, British in certain lineups, Mikhail, you get 1. In other lineups, you might get 2 slices. But like, I think finding the stuff, but also you have to justify that you're getting those opportunities. And I feel like a lot of guys, Bridges was really bad yesterday.
Yeah. In the first half, he played pretty good defense and did not do anything offensively. And then in the second half, they were terrible on both ends, I thought. There was a point where he had 15 shots and Brunson and Towns had 13 combined. And I was like, the Cavs have to be absolutely loving this.
Yeah, that's what you want. That's what you want. And I think that's kind of like, hey, we can live with that. We can win a playoff series if we keep that kind of shot delineation there. It's not a shot at Bridges, but it's just more like that's not the guy defenses are really going to be as worried about when we get to that. So I think there's a level of I'd be concerned that they keep an idea of like, hey, we got to they got to figure out the percentages offensively in terms of that responsibility. Because the Cavs are coming. Let's assume the injury isn't all that serious. They're coming, and this is another team now on the Knicks block as they're trying to make this run to the championship. This game yesterday, was it a bigger win for the Cavs or a bigger loss for the Celtics? Celtics, I don't know why. Knicks.
I think it was a bigger win for the Cavs. Like, we'll talk. I guess I'll just bring up the question now.
Yeah.
Is there anything that the Knicks could do, good or bad, for the rest of the season that would change your opinion about them?
No, there's not. It's just it's like you said, they're just completely inconsistent. So it's so hard to kind of like there's no trust I can give them.
Right. I'm in exactly the same place. So I feel like good result, bad result. I don't really get too high or too low on the Knicks. Like, they got blown out by the Pistons. I was like, all right, that's already happened twice. They have the big comeback against the Rockets. It's like, all right, they didn't really play that well, but they come back and win. They win the next night against the Bulls. It's like, all right, you won on the second half of a back-to-back, and you didn't play all that well. Now they lose to the Cavs. Like, all right, you beat them twice early in the season. You lose this game. What are you going to do? Like, there's nothing that they could do other than go swing really far in one direction or the other that would make me change my mind about them. But even then, if they rip off a good 20-game stretch to end the season, we still know that they have this floor where they'll play down to their competition at times. So for me, I thought it was a psychic win, a psychic win for the Cavs. Where is psychic the right word? I don't know.
I don't know. That one's a little bit. You lost me on psychic win. But I think more importantly, and we should focus.
A psyche win. No, I think it is a psychic win. It was good for their psyche that they won this game against the Knicks, where they had lost the first couple games against them, and now with this new version of the team, the Cavs come in and win, and pretty handily.
Yeah, and I think let's focus a little bit more on the Cavs as we've kind of crushed the Knicks here, and we should be celebrating the Cavs a little bit more. The fit between Harden and Mitchell has been great. Like the way they've kind of sort of understand it. Jared Allen, man, like he's got to be the happiest dude in Cleveland right now because he's just going to be feasting off the lobs from Harden. Like that's a good running mate for him with where they're at. And then you have, Mobley trying. I think that's going to be the key factor for me for the Cavs. Where does Mobley fit in? How does he kind of handle everything is going to be critical. Because as everything we're saying with the Cavs, we also got to remember, they lost a really bad game on Sunday to the Thunder.
They were in a bad spot for that game, though. There was a stat I saw from Matt Moore where teams playing their third game in 4 nights where the start time is before like 6 p.m. have a horrendous record where it's like a 300 winning percentage.
Okay, but that doesn't account for the fact there's no SGA, there's no Jalen Williams. I'm not giving them the pass on that one. The team's down their 2 best starters.
I'm not giving them a pass, but it was a really bad spot.
But like for me, like you got to win that game. You got to win that game. I don't care. 3 games, 4 nights, all that stuff. That's a game you got to take advantage of. And I'm seeing the way that kind of played out. Like that's why I was a bit worried. Like that's why this Knicks win is even bigger to me because of that loss. I was like, I need them to show out in this game, and they came out in this game. Let's go. And I think we kind of saw everything that went into it. But at the end of the day, I still don't trust them.
I'm gonna ask you the exact same question about the Cavs that I did about the Knicks. Is there anything they could do, positive or negative, through the rest of the season that would change your opinion on what they're going to be in the playoffs?
No, they are a show me in the playoffs team.
Right.
That's just a fact.
We knew that this was going to work with Harden in the regular season. Like we knew that. We said it at the time of the trade. Everybody said it at the time of the trade. And everybody said the exact same thing. This is going to work really well in the regular season. We'll see what happens in the playoffs because this is a team that has a history of wilting in the playoffs and a player that has a history of wilting in the playoffs. And we got to see what happens when they both get there.
And that's kind of like the thing for me about the East in general, right? Like I have no faith in the Eastern Conference. Like I have no feel in that stuff. Like I don't know who's coming out of the East because I could see the top 4. Any of the top 4 come out of the East, I'd be like, yeah. Like I just don't know how this is going to shake out. Now, it provides for interesting in terms of like we're going to have some fun games to watch and see how this kind of plays out. But like 60 games into the season, like I should have more of a better feel. But it's just the way the season has gone and the way none of them have really actually kind of taken the flag. It's a bit surprising.
Well, I think the Pistons have kind of taken it from a regular season performance standpoint, but there are other factors to consider with the fact that they haven't won a playoff series. They're such a young team. We don't really know what they're going to look like in a playoff setting or as a favorite or in a matchup that is not necessarily as advantageous. We just don't know what that's going to look like yet. So it's hard to fully put your trust in them. But also, I talked about this when I did Real GM Radio with Wes Goldberg last week. Like, when a team is good enough that you're like, what are the cracks in the foundation that we might be looking for that they can't do it? That means that they're really good and you're trying to talk yourself out of it, if that makes sense.
So let's just go to the Pistons because this is where it gets interesting. Because that was a fascinating game. I mean, everybody's talked about it and dissected it. The Monday night game, Spurs, Pistons, no beef stew, which matters for the Pistons to a degree. But that was a fascinating game because it highlighted my biggest problem with the Pistons. The drop-off after Cade is so massive. I don't know how they can overcome it. I'm shocked they've won as many games as they've had with that because it's not like oh well, so and so's out. Like Beef Stew being out doesn't change the fact that like teams are just going to double team the shit out of Cade in the playoffs, which is what the Spurs did, and then see if other guys can do it, and then just swarm Cade constantly. Every time Cade thought he had an opening, another defender came over, and most of the time it was Wemby, which is basically two defenders with how long that dude is. Like it's not even like Wemby had 6 blocks. I felt like 12 of them were against Cade.
Yeah.
You know, obviously
And
the math
Cade
is
still, even with all the doubles, Cade still had like 25, 26 shots or something along those lines, just because they're so dependent on him to create everything in the half court. Like the half court creators other than him are Dennis Jenkins or like Tobias Harris mismatch post ups, which you don't want to go to all that often because why are you running your offense through Tobias Harris post ups? And then when Jalen Duren gets into his creation stuff from the elbow or from the free throw line, but that's not something that you go to all that often. That's a side dish. That's not a thing that's like a main part of your offense. So much of it is dependent on Cade being the engine of everything. And he did have, I think, 10 assists in that game, but he also was, what was he, 6 for 25, I think? Something
no,
along those
I thought it
lines?
was 5 for 26.
5 for 26, yeah. 5 for 26, 2 for 9 from 3, 10 assists, 3 turnovers, 6 rebounds. He had the 2 steals and 3 blocks on the other end, but they got crushed when he was on the court and didn't do much better when he was off of it, obviously.
And even when they take him off ball, like first off, Stephon Castle did an unbelievable job on him.
Oh my God, incredible!
He was all over him in a way where it was like, okay, that's hard. Like picking him up 3/4 court most of the game at the lowest pickup point I think was half court. Like he was just like, I'm gonna be in your, to the point Cade picked up a really dumb third foul where he straight shoved him to the ground.
That was on the inbound, right?
No, it was off a half court set.
Oh, must be thinking of something different.
But there was a lot of stuff that was like, and then Jalen Duren got in, and I'm like, dude, you just got back from a suspension. Be careful.
Right.
But like, I think there was an element of like the lack of anybody else being able to do anything was a massive problem for them, where I don't know how that gets fixed. There's a play, I did a video on Offside. There's a play where Cade is coming off a ball screen. And this is with Wemby off the court. He gets a switch. He has Keldon Johnson in. Harrison Barnes already on the elbow, not guarding Ron Holland. Doesn't care. Ron Holland had hit like 1 3 to start the game, and he thought he was hot, by the way, and shot a couple of threes where I was like, dude, no. But doesn't even care. Carter Bryant, who was originally on Cade, switches on, forget who set the screen, comes off and is at the other elbow. Cade drives, and then behind him are 2 other guys. I forget who, Keldon Johnson was on him, so I forget who the other 2 were. It wasn't Wemby. But Bryant gets, no, because they were small at the time. The Spurs were small, so it was Vassell probably and Barnes. Barnes was already, I messed this up. But anyways, Bryant gets the block because Cade has to fight through this line of defense. His primary defender, 2 help guys high, 2 help guys low. They're not caring about, and this is what he's going to see all through the playoffs. Another example was Dylan Harper did kind of a similar thing with Ron Holland. Came off Ron Holland, showed at the elbow, stopped the drive from Cade. They set a ball screen. Then he came immediately doubled. Ron Holland had to shoot a floater over Wemby. Good luck. Right? Like, that's going to be their... And I don't think J.B. Bickerstaff has the chops to figure out how they're going to work around that when this becomes a problem in the playoffs.
He's going to see that, or he's going to see you're only a 33% three-point shooter. Go ahead, take your jumpers. We're not letting you get into the paint.
And you could do both at the same time, right?
Yeah.
Like concentrate, like just go under and then trap it. Like there's going to be so many different things you can do. Like he's just going to see a constant wave of multiple defenders, and Jaden Ivey was supposed to be the guy. The injuries and everything, it never panned out. He was supposed to be the guy. You kick it to him, and then Ivey attacks, right? Like that was really, it just didn't pan out. I wish they did a little bit more at the trade deadline. Even if it was a guy, forget Porter or Markin and all. They couldn't get Kobe White. They couldn't have gotten Io DeSumo, like when you see what those guys went for, they traded with the Bulls for God's sakes. They got Kevin Huerter out of it. Like that's the thing where I'm like, I felt like they misunderstood the assignment.
They went for a shooter rather than an attacker, and I feel like in the playoffs you need more ball handlers. Like you do need shooting, obviously, and they don't have much. We talked about it last week. They're like 21st, I think, in 3-point rate and 27th in 3-point percentage. It's either that or the other way around. Neither one of those numbers is good, obviously. But Kevin Huerter is not a great shooter or hasn't been a great shooter for a couple of years. Like they have Duncan Robinson, Tobias Harris can still hit threes. But other than that, there's not really that much shooting on the roster. Maybe you get, the occasional big game from Karis LeVert when he gets his shot going, but it's not like he's a consistent shooter either. Ron Holland's not a consistent shooter. Javonte Green's not a shooter. Asar Thompson obviously is not a shooter. Asar Thompson, by the way, totally disappeared from the rotation in that game, which I didn't understand. He only played like 2 minutes in the second half.
I'll tell you why. His offense. There is no offensive game. Like when you're in a situation where like, okay, we got to find more offense on the floor. There's not going to be
our defense fuels our offense kind of stuff and get out on the break.
Yeah, but the problem is the Spurs want to run too. Like in that game particular, that being the problem. Like I feel like they're going to have to, like that's the problem. That's the other thing in their development problem is that Asar has not shown any sort of progression offensively.
And I will say that the Spurs, in a similar way to how they are against Oklahoma City, the Spurs are sort of uniquely suited to make this Pistons weakness come to the forefront because they have Stephon Castle and they have all these guys that can get up in your best players offensively and they can force you into a game where it's all on the shooters and all on your best guy to create absolutely everything, but he's not able to do it because one of the best defenders in the league is all up in him.
I agree, but what I'm also going to say, though, is everybody else is still not going to guard their shooters.
That's true.
Tate's still going to have to deal with a wave of people he's got to go through. And in a 6-game series, that's going to be tough, right? That's going to be tiring. And that's in a – and then over several rounds, it's he needed help, like, is basically what I'm trying to say at the end. And I think the front office missed the assignment. But I want to throw one more wrinkle into this because I thought this was the thing that was really important. It's not the reason why they lost the game, but it was a factor to me. And I think it's something to watch in their games. They have bought into this, we are so physical. We're going to beat you up. I mean, there's a screen. Ron Holland sets a back pick on Wemby near half court. And it's like he throws his shoulder like right into Wemby's like, Wemby's so goddamn tall. It's like just above his ass, but like throws it right at him. And you legal screen, whatever. I'm not going to hear justify any whatever, but like they try to beat Wemby up. They got so caught in we need to be the more physical team and we need to beat them up. They lost themselves in that game. And when the Spurs basically were just like, bet, okay, that's what you're going to do. Fine. We'll still go at you and beat you. Like they need to kind of tone that down a little bit. I'm not saying be less physical, but the idea of like, we are this tough, like I felt like it was too much and it lost them this game to a degree.
I thought it worked early on in particular. And then there were a couple sequences in maybe the second quarter where they were sort of neutralizing Wemby's rim protection a bit with Gortat screens, but that did not work throughout the rest of the game. And even though they did do a pretty good job of holding Wemby in particular down offensively, he only went like 6 for 16, if I'm remembering correctly from when I looked at the box score earlier. It was 6 for 16 from the field, 2 for 5 from 3. But he had 17 rebounds, 8 offensive rebounds, and they left all of the shooters open. Devin Vassell hit 7 threes. Julian Champagny hits 5 threes. A bunch of the other guys hit from the outside, too. They were, like you said, so concentrated on being physical on the interior that they weren't as locked into their stuff on the weak side, and they left those shooters open repeatedly.
Yeah, and I felt and it cost them. It'll be interesting. They play again on March 5th, which will be a fun one to watch because Beef Stew will be back in that area. I don't know if he changes the game as much, the outcome of this game with that. But I think the thing is for me was just like you can't get locked into that. Like that's part of it. Yes, be the more physical team, set the hard screens, box out, like all that stuff. Fine, cool, like whatever and things like that. But you can't. That can't be your entire persona. Mm-hmm. And I just kind of when I watched it, I was just like, and you're right. It worked at times. It was definitely limiting, and Wemby didn't shoot it well. And he got a bunch of offensive rebounds, and I felt like he struggled to kind of get a lot of tip-ins and things like that. But the results are the results. Like you gave up so much in that you were so focused on that being the more physical team, you lost the plot.
Yeah. You can do it without being so locked into it that you lose sight of executing everything else.
So where do you feel, well, you have a thing you want to bring up. Go for it.
I gave since we're talking about all these Eastern Conference teams, we've already talked about 3 of the top 4 teams, but basically we were talking about, like, let's talk about the top of the Eastern Conference and which of these teams do we trust in the playoffs. So I went through and I gave them all a trust rating from 1 to 10, and I want to run them by you.
Okay, go for it.
Let's just start at the top with the Pistons. They're 11th in offense, 2nd in defense.
Sorry. Trust as in I trust them to go to the finals? To come out of the East?
Oh, well, if it's that, then all of these ratings would be lower.
Okay. What's what am I trusting? Like, just I trust them in the playoffs to be a conference finals team?
Yeah, I guess so. It's just, honestly, it's kind of amorphous. It's just like, this is how much I trust them. It could be on like a night-to-night basis, but it's also in a bigger picture at the same time. It's like mixing the two of them together and not in a particularly systematic way.
Got it. Okay.
I gave the Pistons a 7.5 in terms of how much I trust them, because in the regular season, I trust them a lot to do their thing on a night-to-night basis. In the playoffs, we have all of these issues with them. Like, how are they going to generate offense outside of Cade? What is it like? What about the shooting? So it's sort of like an 8 to 9 and then like a 7. So I gave it in the middle to a 7.5.
Okay. I'm lower. No, in the regular season I trust them more. But yeah, so I'm probably like a 6.5
for the playoffs.
Yeah, well, the playoffs I'm probably closer to a 5.
None of these teams are. It's like
that's my problem with the East. Is, and I said it to you, I have no trust in any of these teams. But go on. Let's continue on with your trust rankings.
So I've got the Celtics. They are 2nd in offense, 7th in defense. I gave them a 7. And if Tatum is actually healthy when he comes back, it could get to like a 7.5 or an 8. I
would just say of all the teams, I probably trust them more only because we've seen them do this, and I feel like the Tatum thing is a lot of questions for me. Like I have a lot of questions for if he comes back, how does it look? But even if he doesn't come back, they're the one team I feel like knows themselves. Has the full understanding of themselves, has the experience, this is how we play. Am I 100% confident it was going to work in the playoffs? No. But I feel like I probably have more trust in them than any other team in the sense of at least they have the understanding of who they are. And maybe that changes if Tatum comes and tweaks the chemistry or something. I don't think that's what's going to happen, but that could be a thing to keep an eye on.
You might have convinced me to put them over the Pistons in the trust ratings. These very scientific trust ratings.
Very scientific.
If Tatum looks remotely healthy when he comes back, they're definitely ahead of the Pistons in the trust ratings for me. But I
even think now.
Yeah, they might be. I do have a question for you that I want to talk about because I had put out my call for like the biggest questions that people have 2/3 of the way through the season for my mailbag that I did it last night in basketball. And I got this one late after I had already put the mailbag out. But Ryan Bernardoni on Blue Sky asked, like, if you look at the traditional offensive four factors, which is like effective field goal percentage, free throw rate, turnover rate, and offensive rebound rate, there are two of them that are related to efficiency, which is effective field goal percentage and free throw rate, and two of them that are related to possessions, which is turnover rate and offensive rebound rate. The Celtics have the second best offense in the league by offensive rating, but they're tilted heavily toward the possession side, where it's all turnover rate. They have a very low turnover rate. They have a very high offensive rebound rate. They have one of the lowest free throw rates in the league, and they're sort of middle of the pack effective field goal percentage. And he said that no team has made the conference finals with a good offense this heavily skewed toward the possession side, he says, since the 2010 Hawks. So do you think this could potentially be a problem for the Celtics in the playoffs?
I mean, it could be. Like, the hard thing with these types of questions, with this stuff, is like, okay, we always have these metrics until somebody breaks them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, remember, like, and maybe it's not fair, no jump shooting team can ever win a championship. That was the mantra forever.
But that was also, like, not based in reality.
Yeah, I agree with you. But in the sense of, like, we always have these things. So even this, like, possession battle is actually more important to me than efficiency. Right? And I think that's kind of, at least the way I skew it. And, you know, like, I'm sure some analytics people probably just freaking threw their phone across the room. Hopefully he didn't break anything. But, like, having more shots and more bites at the apple, now part of that is you have to also be able to defend. And I think that's the key thing there, right? Like, if I can win the possession battle and I can get more offensive possessions and defend at a high level, I'm confident I could win any game. And I think that's an important aspect there. That's why I'm not too worried about it, the fact of, like, the efficiency, because they take some bad shots, man. They shoot a ton of threes, and you know, there are definitely games where it's like, God damn, they can't hit the broadside of a barn, which I don't know why that's a phrase, but I think, you know, with everything that you have, like, and what we've seen, I just trust their defense, man. I trust them defensively. I trust their guys. I think Jalen has been unbelievable this season, and yeah, they may not be ultimately very efficient. They make up for it by getting these other possessions and being. It's terrible if you're not efficient and have a high turnover rate and a low offensive rebound rate. Like, there's those are the things where I'd be a little bit worried.
I'm with you for the most part. I do think Tatum coming back, if he comes back and if he's healthy, could help on the efficiency front, and particularly could help on the free throw rate front, because he's their one guy that actually gets to the line. But I feel like getting to the line is probably going to be one of the last areas to come around, just because like the short area quickness that helps him do that is probably going to be one of the last things to come around. But having a better shooter out there, having someone provide more space out there, having someone who draws more attention out there, I think will help on the efficiency front. And then, like you said, if you're able to win the possession battle, that can sort of help make up for a lack of efficiency in a certain way.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm at with them. Again, and the only reason why I trust them, folks, more than the others, we've just seen them do it. Right? Like, they have an understanding of who they are. And we got to give Missoula credit. I mean, he's a psycho. But you got to give him credit for just the pure fact of, like, he's coached his ass off, and this team has the identity that I think everybody's trying to still sort of claw in to figure out who they are.
I will say they can sometimes, like you said earlier with the Pistons, they get too locked into a certain identity and it works to their detriment. I think in that Knicks series last year, the Celtics got too locked into their we have to take more threes than anybody else identity, and it hurt their offense in the Knicks series, and that enabled those two big comebacks that the Knicks had in games 1 and 2.
Yeah, I think that's actually a great point too, and maybe the problem of being too much into your identity, which I was killing the Pistons about.
Yeah. So the Knicks and the Cavs are the next two teams. Knicks are 3rd in offense, 11th in defense. Cavs are 5th in offense, 12th in defense. I gave them both like a 6 to 6.5 in terms of how much I trust them. And I feel like they're very similar. The Knicks have more of a going into the playoffs track record because they actually made the conference finals last year. And the Cavs obviously just threw this team together on the fly, getting James Harden and Keon Ellis and Dennis Schroeder all in the last couple of weeks. But the Cavs also have shown during these last couple of weeks that they can play at a really high level. And the Knicks, as we talked about earlier, are just so inconsistent on a night-to-night basis.
Yeah, it's really. I mean, for me, my Cavs playoff trust meter is very low.
Yeah, for both of these teams in the playoffs, I mean, I guess I trust the Knicks more in the playoffs than I do the Cavs.
Because we just seen them do it. Sorry, that matters. Like, for me with the Cavs, with just their history and with Harden's history, I'm not picking them till I know they can. Till I'm not very confident. Like, yeah, sure, first round, depending on who they're not matched up with any of the top three teams. Like, I'm not 100% confident that like they're going to be that good. Like, I just don't trust them come playoff time, man. Like we've seen them wilt in the playoffs too much that it's like I can't go there.
Well, let me ask you this. Let's say the seeds stay the same as they are now, and then you get Pistons-Cavs in the second round, and you have to deal with the lack of trust in the Cavs or the lack of trust in the Pistons offense. What do you think matters more?
I'm gonna go with I would pick the Pistons in that because
I think I would too.
This is where their physical identity actually go. Like, this Cavs team is not a very physical team. Like, yes, they've gotten tougher. With I like the guards, the Tyson and the way they kind of handle themselves. They're a little bit tougher. Mobley and Allen do not like getting hit all that much. We saw that in the Knicks series a few years ago. Like, you can be a bit rough with them, and I think that would play into the Pistons' hands. Mm-hmm. Like, I think that's actually pretty good best case scenario for the Pistons right there, because that's a team you can kind of bully a little bit, and they don't have. And again, they're going to defensively collapse the paint and see if the shooters can. They don't have a lot of great perimeter defender because they're going to be trotting out Donovan Mitchell and James Harden to start the series. Start every game. Like, I would probably go Pistons. Obviously, we have to see what it would look like going into the series, but right now, I'd probably go Pistons.
Yeah, they would have like Dean Wade guarding Cade Cunningham, which I don't think is all that scary. Even if it did work for a while against Jalen Brunson last night, Dean Wade is a lot bigger than Jalen Brunson. It's a much different thing. I will say also the Cavs got out physicaled by the Pacers last year too. That was more of a perimeter out physicaling, if that is a word, which it's probably not. But they did the same thing to them that the Knicks did a couple of years earlier.
Yeah, I think that's just the thing. So I don't feel like they addressed that in terms of their toughness. I don't feel like they've gotten that level of toughness. So I think that's kind of where I'm at. So I do trust the Knicks more than the Cavs. Like, I think if I had to do my rankings, I'd probably go Boston, Knicks, Pistons, Cavs.
Yeah, for the playoffs, I guess I probably would have the Knicks ahead of the Pistons, even though the Pistons have beaten the hell out of them 3 times.
Handily. But we saw that also last year with this Knicks team, right? Like, they didn't beat anybody.
Boston destroyed them in the regular season last year. Like, and like less close than these Pistons games have been this year.
And again, let me also just be very clear about one thing. I don't trust any of these teams. I'm being forced to have to trust teams.
Let me ask you this. You don't trust any of these teams. I don't trust any of these teams. Do you trust Toronto or Philly?
No. That's why
I
hate the East. Besides all the snow y'all got, I hate the East. It's just it's going to make for fantastic playoff basketball because I have no idea what to expect. Like, there's
it's
just
either going to be fantastic playoff basketball or terrible playoff basketball.
Well, the basketball itself might not be great basketball, but we're going to get drama out of this. We're going to get – it's not like we're looking at some of these teams in the West going like, they ain't got no chance. right? Like we're looking at the Lakers, they ain't got no chance, right? We can talk about them next week because we've run long.
I think we're looking at the play-in teams and saying they ain't got no chance.
Oh yeah, no.
Honestly, I don't think the Sixers or the Raptors have much of a chance against any of these teams in the first round either.
No, I don't think so either. Seeing although the Knicks are stupid enough to lose to the Sixers in the first round. Like if Embiid comes in and he's like 80% Joel Embiid, Paul George comes back from suspension and is looking like the Knicks are dumb enough to lose that. I don't think they will.
They don't have a great defender for Maxey, which is a problem.
Yeah. Well, Alvarado now, buddy. Little Alvarado.
Yeah, but then you're all of a sudden playing Alvarado for 25, 30 minutes a night, and that's
not ideal.
No.
So I will be interested to see. Like I'm fascinated by what might happen in the playoffs, but I also hate the East because I can't figure out who I really am confident about in that sense. Like if anybody tells me who's coming out of the East, I'd be like, you pick them, any of the top four.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the exact same situation.
Yeah, and I think that's probably where we should end it. Do you have any other thoughts? Anything you want to?
No, man, we'll do the same thing with the West teams next week. I'll come up with my very scientific trust ratings for the Western Conference teams, and then we'll go through those.
I love your trust ratings. From Bodie's dad, from Luca's dad, thank you so much for listening to the Double Dribble Podcast.
I definitely had these trust ratings being too high. I should have had them lower for all of these teams, but see y'all.